If you're thinking about moving to Chicago, I'm going to do something that most agents want. I'm going to try to talk some of you out of it because there's 7 types of people who move here, spend a lot of money, and realize pretty quickly that Chicago wasn't what they pictured. And I don't want that to be you. Some of these are lifestyle issues that you can probably adjust to, but a few can turn into very expensive mistakes that are much harder to undo. So let's find out whether Chicago is actually right for you. Number 1, if you're moving here because you heard Chicago is cheap, we need to talk about what cheap actually means to you. Compared to the coast, Chicago home prices look incredibly affordable. Your dollar buys a lot more home here than it does in New York or California, and that is a big reason people move here. But the list price isn't the whole story. Cook County property taxes are high, and properties are reassessed every 3 years, so the taxes don't stay the same. In fact, because home values here have been appreciating so much, the taxes have gone up a lot too. And if you buy a condo, you have monthly assessment on top of your mortgage too, and you also may have to buy a parking separately. And in some buildings, the parking comes with its own monthly assessment and its own annual tax. So when you add the property taxes, condo assessment, insurance, and parking to the mortgage, the real monthly number can be a lot higher than what a basic mortgage calculator showed you. The most common thing I see is someone moving here from a higher cost state, thrilled that a condo is $200,000 less than it would have been back home, and then we calculate taxes and assessments and everything else, and suddenly the monthly payment is much closer to what they were already paying back home. That doesn't necessarily mean Chicago isn't still a better value. It just means that you need to understand what a home will actually cost you every month and not just what it costs to buy. So run the real monthly number with the taxes and assessments including before you fall in love with a home. And I have the entire video about hidden costs of buying a home in Chicago, and I'll link it right here. But cost isn't the only place where people arrive with wrong expectations. The next one becomes very obvious the moment you start looking at homes here. Number 2, if you're coming from a place where a half-acre lot is normal and the kids play catch in the backyard, I'll be honest with you, you're probably not going to love what your money gets you in the city. The standard Chicago lot is 25 feet wide by 125 feet deep. So even when you're buying a $2 million house here, you're not getting a big suburban yard. In the city, outdoor space usually means a deck, a rooftop, a small patio, or small backyard. Now, if you have deeper pockets, say $3.5, $4 million and up, we can absolutely find you a home that sits on 2 or 3 lots with a real outdoor space. That exists, but for most budgets in the city, the big yard is the thing that you give up. And if you're happy trading that for being able to walk to restaurants, coffee shops, parks, and everything else, that can be a great deal. But if a big backyard is at the top of your list, be honest with yourself about that now, because that's really a suburbs conversation, not a city one. And then there's the Chicago trade-off that everybody knows about, but not everybody fully understands until they live through it. Number 3, winter. Now, Chicago summers are incredible. Generally, one of the best summer cities in the country, but you don't live here just in July. You live here in February too. And the winter is real. And I'm not saying it's one big giant snowstorm or 1 week of extreme cold that gets to people. It's the long gray stretch from January into March, the wind of the lake, and the short days. When it's dark before dinner, you wake up, it's dark, you go to bed, it's dark. Now, most people adjust and find their rhythm with it, and you learn how to dress for it, where to park before a snowstorm, and why nobody in Chicago cares how ridiculous their winter coat looks as long as it keeps them warm. But if you lived somewhere warm your whole life and you already know that cold, darkness, and short days are really hard on you, that is something to think about, because you're not moving here for the suburbs, you're moving here for the entire year. And those are some of the lifestyle trade-offs. The next few are where moving to Chicago can become a lot more expensive and frustrating than people expected. And before we go into those, if we haven't met yet, I'm Dee Savage. I lived in Chicago for 27 years, and I've been helping people relocate to Chicago and within Chicago for over 20 of them. And if you're serious about making a move, I put together a free Chicago relocation guide. It breaks down the neighborhoods, current market, and the school information. It's free, and I'll leave it in the description so you can start making a smarter decision before you even get here. Now, let's talk about something that sounds small until you're dealing with it every single day. Number 4, if you need a garage and easy parking. Plenty of people in Chicago own a car, so I'm not telling you to give up yours. But the neighborhoods most of my clients move here for are really dense and walkable, and the trade-off that comes with that is parking. In a lot of those areas, you're parking on a street with a residential permit, you're hunting for a spot on a Friday night, night or digging your car out after a snowstorm. And if you want a guaranteed spot, a lot of Chicago condo buildings sell a deeded parking space separately on top of the price of the home. And that can run you $30,000 to $50,000 depending on the building, or even more. But let's say you buy a home or a condo with a garage. A lot of those garages sit off narrow back alleys, so parking a big SUV in the middle of February when it's icy and slippery can turn into a daily struggle, especially if you're not used to it. So it's not that you can't have a car here, it's just that most of the time you're not getting that easy pull right into your garage parking. And if that's something you're not willing to live without, or that will be hard to get used to, you'll be happier and you'll spend a lot less money out in the suburbs where garage just comes with a house. But parking is something you can plan and budget for. The next mistake is different because it can keep you from buying anything at all. Number 5, if you're planning to move here thinking you'll walk in and negotiate the price down 10 or 15% because every national news article told you home prices are falling and inventory is rising, so let me save you the trip. Don't even bother. Those national headlines are talking about national averages, and a lot of that softness is coming from Sunbelt markets like Austin, Phoenix, and Tampa, places that really did cool off. Chicago is completely opposite of that. In many of the neighborhoods I get most calls about, there's less than a month and a half of inventory. So that is a very, very strong seller's market. Bidding wars here are completely normal, and homes are regularly selling over asking. 5%, 10%, sometimes even 20% over the list price. So if your entire plan is to lowball every new listing, you're going to lose over and over again. And after a few months, you're probably going to be incredibly frustrated. But that doesn't mean that you should just blindly throw money at every property either. There's a big difference between lowballing a property that's priced right and that just came on the market, and strategically targeting an overpriced property that has been sitting for a while. That is actually a strategy that I have been leaning toward lately, and I've successfully negotiated deals $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 below the list price for many of my clients who lost numerous offers in a multiple offer situation. But the opportunity was there because those particular homes were overpriced, had been sitting, and the sellers were finally ready to negotiate. So that's a strategy. But automatically writing an offer 10 or 15% below asking or expecting that you can negotiate that on every home is not reasonable to expect. A serious buyer can absolutely win in this market, and there are smart ways to write an offer that gets accepted without recklessly overpaying. But again, if your whole plan is to wait for Chicago prices to drop so you can swoop in and steal something, that just isn't coming anytime soon. And it's better that you hear it from me right now. The next one is almost the opposite problem. Instead of expecting prices to fall, some people move here because they're expecting prices to explode. So if you're chasing a quick flip or boom, number 6 is for anyone coming here expecting to get rich quickly. If you're planning to buy something, hold it for 2 years and flip it for a fast 50% gain, that is probably not the Chicago market. And you should be glad that it isn't, because remember when we talked about Sunbelt cities earlier that exploded during the pandemic? In a lot of them, prices are falling now, with some down a couple of percentage points year over year. The reason for that is they shot up way too quickly, some were overbuilt, and now prices are coming back down. Chicago never overheated. Prices here climbed at a slower and steadier pace, and that's paying off in a big way right now. So as I'm filming this, Chicago is the #1 appreciating housing market in the entire country. We're leading even ahead of New York. Home prices here are up about 6.5% year over year. The national average is under 1%, and a lot of the markets that boomed are actually falling. So the prices are declining in a lot of the markets. So we're not just ahead, we're ahead by a really, really wide margin. Our median price also crossed $400,000 for the first time, and it keeps climbing. So no, this isn't a get-rich-quick market. It's a slow, steady, reliable one, and that's exactly why it's winning right now. So if you want a lottery ticket, this isn't it. But if you want to build real wealth in a market that keeps appreciating, there are very few better places in the country to do it right now. Now, you can adjust your budget, you can learn how to compete, you can pay for parking, and you can buy a better winter coat. This last mistake is much harder to fix after you already moved in, and it's probably the biggest reason people end up believing they chose the wrong city. The people who end up unhappy in Chicago usually didn't choose the wrong city. They chose the wrong neighborhood. Chicago has 77 official neighborhoods, well over 100 recognized and countless smaller pocket and micro neighborhoods, and they can feel completely different even if they're only 10 minutes apart. The neighborhood that works perfectly for a young couple who wants restaurants and nightlife can be completely wrong for a family that's looking for a quiet residential street or good school options. A neighborhood could look perfect in listing photos, but those photos don't always show you what it sounds like at 11 o'clock on Saturday night. And they don't show you how hard the parking is after 6 o'clock, or they don't show you the weather, how the walk to the train feels like on a February whole day, and they definitely don't show you the commute during rush hour. I see this happen all the time. Someone falls in love with a home online, buys it sight unseen, moves in, and a few months later realizes the location is completely wrong or not how they actually expected to live. It's too loud, it's too quiet, it's too far from a train, or the commute they thought would take 20 minutes now takes 45 minutes. And now they're either living with a decision that they regret or are paying to move all over again. So if possible, come spend time here first. Walk the neighborhoods at different times of day, visit during the week, and on the weekend, test the commute you will actually be taking. And if you're still not sure, renting for a year can actually be a really smart decision. If you do need to buy from another state, don't rely just on listing photos, online rankings, or what somebody on Reddit told you. You need to work with someone who really understands these neighborhoods and who'll show you what you can't see in the listing, the good and the bad. I have a full breakdowns of many Chicago neighborhoods right here on the channel, so you can start with those. I hope you find it helpful. They should help you narrow down which neighborhoods actually fit your life before you start falling in love with individual homes. But I didn't make this video to talk everyone out of moving here. For the right person, there's nowhere better. I raised my two daughters right here in the city, and we absolutely love it, except on a few gloomy winter days. But if you want to walk to your coffee or dinner, live in a real neighborhood with world-class food and culture, and have the lake as your backyard all summer, Chicago gives you something very few American cities can. And it's still affordable compared to places like New York and LA. You just need to understand the trade-offs. If that sounds like you, moving to Chicago might be one of the best decisions you ever made, just like it was for me. And if you want help finding the neighborhood that actually fits your lifestyle, my phone number is on the screen and in the description. And if this video helped you, subscribe. I break down Chicago one neighborhood at a time so you can understand what is it really like to live here before you make the move. I'm Dee Savage. Thank you so much for watching. Keep exploring, and I'll see you in the next one.